All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. And today I'm excited because we're going to talk about finding keyword veins that produce gold. And if you guys have been listening to the podcast for any amount of time or hopped on any of my coffee talks, which you might be watching one of those right now, you probably know that I'm a pretty big Gold Rush fan. And I've been watching that from I think season 1. And the reason why is because a lot of what they do, it is a lot like business. And it's a lot of research before you actually do the digging. And that's why I love going after keyword veins. And that's why I kind of named it that, because it's very, very similar. We're going to do some research. We're going to find these categories or these sub niches, if you will. And then we're going to do a little test. And then once we do that, we start digging. And as they call it, we get on the pay. And then what we do is we take that and then we start running it through the sleuth, or we sluice it. Because then what we do is we want to find the ones that have potential to rank for traffic. So this way here, we can get that traffic over to our website. And then depending on what you're monetizing it with, you are then able to start earning money from this. And I have a recent little experiment that I did that worked. Actually, 10 for 10. Tried 10 different pieces of content. 10 of those worked, actually producing over 5,000 visitors in 30 days. And some of it ranking in under 4 weeks. And I'm going to share with you what that looks like. I'm going to give you something that you could do right now in your own niche and see if this applies. Because if it does, well, there's a lot of content that you can create that will bring in traffic. And a lot of this stuff is easy traffic and really not hard to create. Now, I decided to, again, go through this process myself. I always like to do something before I ever teach it. But then after I was doing this and it was starting to work, I decided to do a live session of this for our Brand Creators Academy members. And if you're listening to this and you are in Brand Creators Academy and you have not yet watched that over-the-shoulder view of me doing that, and I did it for about a little over an hour, and I used 4 different niches. And each one of them, I was able to find a keyword vein that I was able to just drill into. And actually, I've recently, I did this again as a little bit of an experiment for 2022. And that was, I offered some one-on-one coaching calls. And I did this for my email list. And if you're on my email list, you probably saw that. But man, I offered these spots so I could help people in 2022 a little bit more direct and also see where people are really struggling. And one of them is finding good keywords or just making sure that their niche is able to produce this type of content. And after doing these coaching calls so far, I've used this method of finding these keyword veins. And every single time we walk away with a minimum of 20 different topics. And for the most part, you can probably say you could double or triple that on just this one vein of keywords that we're going after. I just did one today, actually, before I decided to jump on here. I actually did one, well, if you're listening to this in the morning or if you're listening to this when I didn't, obviously do this coffee talk or this podcast episode. Well, it wasn't this morning. It was a morning. But I just finished one up. And when I did this, I ran through this and immediately we found several veins that we were going to go down this road. And one of them was immediate. I said, listen, I would forget about any other keyword research right now. I would just go down this road because it's so obvious and it's so easy because we have the keyword that people are searching for, but now we're just going to find all of these other variations, all of these other terms that we could show up for. All right. And again, I'm going to give you some examples of this. Now, if you are listening to this and you want to see this in action, then I definitely recommend you checking out Brand Creators Academy because that's where we do this stuff, this over-the-shoulder stuff. And there's actually a live session that I did where I showed exactly what I'm talking about right here, which I'm going to walk you through it right here, but a lot of times it's good to see it visually and also different examples. But if you're interested, head on over to Brand Creators Academy, or let's see, brandcreatorsacademy.com. That should take you there, or just brandcreators.com/BCA. Again, that's brandcreators.com/BCA. And you can take a short little survey there. It is by private invite, but once you fill that out, we will follow up with you. The other thing is if you're interested in getting a one-on-one coaching call, I have not done these in a long time. I opened up January. It booked immediately within 24 hours, but I am starting to open up some for February. And if you're interested, make sure that you're on my email list, because that's where I'm announcing these. And you can do that by heading on over to takeactioncrew.com. Again, that's takeactioncrew.com. That's where I will send you weekly emails with tips and advice and just sharing things that's happening throughout this entire niche properties type stuff. So again, that's how you get on the email list. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's get into keyword veins, and I'm going to give you, again, some things that you can do personally within your own niches and see if it makes sense for you, okay? But the three main reasons that I'm doing this, again, just as a little reminder, is they're easy to rank for, we can create the content fast, and there's lots of content to be created. So 3 of them right there. One of the big ones is because, well, you can rank it pretty easily. All right. Now, we did this, again, over 10 different articles that I'm actually reporting on, but there's a lot more than that. In one niche, we started to kind of play around with this about 1.5 years ago. And I believe we're probably up to about, in just this one vein, probably close to 75 different pieces of content that are all bringing in a lot of traffic. Okay. Some of them more than others, right? In this example I'm sharing with you with these 10 different articles that we did, that's now getting, 5,700 visitors in the last 30 days from these 10 new articles. 2 of those are up over 1,000 each. Some of them aren't fully 8 weeks old yet. Some of them are only 3 weeks old, and they're still getting 100 or 200 visitors for the last 30 days. So those will start to ramp up as well. But just these 10 have produced 5,700 plus visitors in the last 30 days. Okay. So let me give you an example of what this looks like. So think about it this way. This is a great example. Can you catch bass with fill in the blanks? Okay. And I'll give you an idea of how you can do this yourself. If you just want to think about these off the top of your head, start there. But here's some just from doing this little test here, or this example for you. Can you catch bass with purple worms? Can you catch bass with silver lures? Can you catch bass with real worms? Can you catch bass with green lures? And you keep on going. Can you catch bass with fill in the blanks, right? Now, you probably want to do a little bit of research, a little bit of data research to see what type of traffic you can expect. Now, I do not live by Ubersuggest or Ahrefs or any other keyword tool for that matter. It's a good gauge, and it's a good indicator that there's probably some traffic that's flowing there just from the history, just from looking at the data. So if we're doing this in Google Auto Suggest, and I'll actually give you one that I did here that you can kind of see exactly what that was able to give me. Let me see here. I'm going to pull it up here on the fly. So I did this in Google Auto Suggest. So basically just typing in, can you catch bass with, and then I let it fill in, okay? Here's what it came up with. Can you catch bass with chicken liver? Can you catch bass with worms? Can you catch bass with minnows? Can you catch bass with a bobber? Can you catch bass with bread? Can you catch bass with a fly rod? Can you catch bass with shrimp? Can you catch bass with hot dogs? Can you catch bass with corn? So those are straight from Google. Do you think that those are getting traffic? I don't even need to look at any tool other than what I just did to know that those are probably all getting traffic, right? Because Google wouldn't suggest it. It wouldn't be in their database if it wasn't being searched. Now, do we know if it's getting searched 100 or 200? We don't know. But here's the other thing that I want you to always keep in mind. And I've shared this in the past. When you're looking at a number, a precise number for can you catch bass with chicken liver, let's say, and let's say that it says it gets 250 searches a month. That's just for that one long tail. There's a lot of other searches that you're going to show up for if you've done your content creation properly. Meaning, if you're writing an article on can you catch bass with chicken liver, you're probably going to talk about other things about catching bass or different baits, things like that. So you're always going to have the opportunity to rank for additional keywords that's not going to show up in the long tail for can you catch bass with chicken liver. So keep that in mind. And if you have ever looked in Ahrefs, it will show you from your content, it will show you are ranking, most of your traffic's coming from this one long tail, but you're also ranking for 342 other variations that's driving traffic. And that is how you're able to really take one piece of content and get multiple keywords that you're getting ranked for. So this here, if you were just starting, and this is exactly what I just gave one of my private coaching calls. This was the advice I gave them. This was like the homework. I said, listen, you have not created any content yet. You're just starting this site from scratch. Take these right here that I just gave you. Can you catch bass with chicken liver, worms, minnows, bobber, all of those, create separate posts and write those. That's it. That's all you're going to do. But see, what happens is people always just focus on the number in a tool on that one long tail phrase. And that is not what we want to do. So big takeaway here, don't do that. All right. And go after these types of pieces of content if your niche allows you to. All right. The other thing you can do is go into Ubersuggest. Again, I'm not going to spend any time here going into Ubersuggest. I've done it before, but basically you would just take that same idea, that same long tail, punch it into Ubersuggest and see what comes back. All right. And then just start looking and sorting. If you want to gauge, go after the ones that did get the most traffic and then work yourself down. Right. The other thing I like to do is sort it by SEO difficulty. And I like to use the filter 0 to 35 if you're using it for a new site. So one little pro tip there for you. Ubersuggest, SEO difficulty 0 to 35. All right, moving on. Let me give you another example. Here's another way that you could do this and find a vein to go down. And we've done this, again, in several niches. Best bass fishing in Florida. Best bass fishing in Texas. Best bass fishing in North Carolina, South Carolina, Colorado. And what I would do is run the same thing. Use auto-suggest, put in best bass fishing in, let it auto-populate. Those are the ones that Google is saying are the most popular. The other thing I would do, go into Ubersuggest, do the same thing, and then look at the traffic numbers and see which ones are, in fact, getting searched for more. So again, another example, best bass fishing in, fill in the blanks. And this way here, you can create so much content that's answering questions, which is another pro tip. That is, answer people's questions on your website. Okay? The easiest way to get traffic is to answer people's questions. Okay? That is going to get you traffic and it's going to be easier to rank for in most cases. All right? So, little reminder here. I made a little note here to remind you, to remind you. Content should answer questions, especially in the beginning. I just said that, but I'm saying it again because it is so important. If you are starting from scratch, we always recommend starting with questions. And honestly, you're going to answer questions for a very, very long time. We are still doing it to this day for sites that are 2 years old right now, and we're going after this type of stuff. Anytime that I can find something that I can do that right there, can you catch bass with, fill in the blanks, and then I get a list of 20, 30, 50, that's where I go. That's where I run, okay? Because it's easy to create that content. It's what people are searching for, and we also get to spread the net a little bit wider and start covering a lot of different searches from inside of those posts, from, again, writing good subheadings and all of that. The other thing is here, let me just kind of go through what this looks like, okay, as far as what the steps are, all right? Find a long tail keyword that could have multiple variations. So again, best bass fishing in, fill in the blank. That's a variation, right? A state is a variation, right? Maybe it's a county. Maybe it's a country, okay? So definitely go after multiple variations, okay? Create the list that you receive from doing this exercise. Create the content. Publish, repeat. Guys, simple. That is the word of 2022. Keep it simple, all right? So again, find the long tail keyword that has multiple variations, create the list, then create the content, publish it, repeat it. That's how we find keyword veins that can create traffic, or also, as I like to call it, gold. All right? Because when you find these and they start to take off, it is in fact like having a gold pay streak. It's where you get to just keep drilling and keep digging in that area. Why would you go over to another area until you've exhausted that one area, right? So just keep going really, really deep as long as you can. All right. So guys, hopefully this has helped you. This is how we are finding keyword veins that produce gold and lots of traffic. And again, that one example, which I'll report back here on the podcast and on my coffee talks. But right now, those 10 articles have produced 5,700 visitors in 30 days. And that's after 8 weeks of them being live. Actually, some of them are only 3 to 4 weeks live. Some of them are 8 weeks old. All right. So they rank fast, easy to create, and they bring in traffic and targeted traffic. All right. So guys, that is it. That is going to wrap it up. If you are interested in getting help with this, or if you want to surround yourself with other people that are doing exactly what we are doing here on this podcast, as far as building these niche properties, make sure you head on over to brandcreators.com/BCA. From there, you can join us on the inside of our Brand Creators Academy, and we have all of our trainings included in there as well. All right, guys. So that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, take care, take action, have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Cut. All right, guys, that was the coffee talk, but here's the deal. I can't answer any questions right now because I'm not, in fact, live, or if you're watching this on the replay, I actually pre-recorded this because I was not going to be available. So if you do have any questions on this, drop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to read them and answer them on an upcoming coffee talk. All right, guys, have an awesome day.